So October 13th, 2020, my son turns 22, and we do a little something together, but we know we're going home the next 2-3 weeks, so we really don't do much. We plan out to celebrate for once we make it home. November 1st, November 2nd of 2020, we make it home. Late night, early morning, November 1st, November 2nd. And I really don't remember much about the week. The last memory I really have is I texted my son at about 6:20 or so on November 4th, 2020, and I told him I had cooked. And he asked me to put him a plate up. And I knew then that he wasn't coming right away, so I put him a plate up, and I climbed in my bed and got comfortable. So I fall asleep, and I wake up at about 12:28, and I get up and I go look in my front room, and he's not over there yet. And I was shocked because he's normally in the front room holding the dog, watching Netflix or something. So I texted him, I said, son, what happened to you? Well, about 15 minutes after that, I get a phone call from my mother. She's screaming in the phone. She said she don't know what's going on, that she see Robert's car, and she see fire coming out of his window, and she's screaming his name, and I can hear gunshots in the background. I don't stay very far from my mother, so I hop in my car. Me and my family hop in our car, and we're headed that way immediately. And by the time I make it there, minutes later, my son's car is rested against my mother's neighbor's house, and there's a police standing out next to the car, one police officer, one vehicle, and he's telling me and my family not to come over. Seconds after that, an ambulance pulls up, so I'm like, oh, okay, so if he is hurt or whatever, the ambulance is here now, it's going to be all right. So the ambulance unloads the gurney, and they get their equipment, and they walk over to my son's car, and they walk back over to the ambulance, and they load the gurney, and they get in the ambulance, and they drive away without him. Now we still out standing there kind of in shock, trying to figure out what's going on. And I said, y'all, Robert dead. And everybody was like, well, what you mean? What are you saying? I was like, they left without him. I just kept saying they left without him. And I knew that if he was hurt, or that if he was still alive, he'd have been calling out for me. It'd have probably been a fight between me, him, and the police, because I would have been trying to get to my son, because I know my son would have been trying to get to me. So I kept saying, y'all, Robert is dead. And everybody trying to calm me down, saying no. And the next thing I know, I see the stars. So I don't know if I blacked out or what happened. But so now I done gathered myself back together, and more police officers and detectives started arriving to the scene, and they put up the yellow tape, and my neighbor's kids started showing up at the scene.